Welcome to War Bios, the podcast where we delve into the most pivotal battles in history, examining the strategic context, operational art, and human cost of conflict. I'm your host, General Biography, and today we're going to explore one of the most significant battles of the 30 Years' War, the Battle of Breitenfeld. The Battle of Breitenfeld was a turning point in European history, marking a decisive victory for the Swedish army under King Gustav II Adolf over the imperial army led by Count Tilly. To understand the significance of this battle, we must first delve into its precursors and origins. The seeds of conflict were sown decades earlier, with the Protestant Reformation sparking a chain reaction of events that would eventually lead to the outbreak of war. In 1570, Martin Luther's 95 Theses challenged the authority of the Catholic Church, setting in motion a wave of reform that swept across Europe. The Peace of Augsburg, signed in 1555, attempted to establish a fragile peace between Catholics and Protestants, allowing each state to choose its own religion. However, this compromise was short-lived, as tensions continued to simmer beneath the surface. On May 23, 1608, the defenestration of Prague took place, where two imperial officials and their secretary were thrown from a window in the palace, sparking a chain reaction of events that would eventually lead to the outbreak of war. The Protestant Union, formed in 1608, had been seeking to protect the rights of Protestants in the Holy Roman Empire, while the Catholic League, formed in 1609, aimed to counter their efforts. As the conflict escalated, King Gustav II Adolf of Sweden saw an opportunity to expand his kingdom's influence and protect its Protestant allies. In 1629, he launched a campaign against the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, securing a series of victories that would eventually lead him to the battlefields of Germany. In the summer of 1630, Gustav II Adolf landed on the island of Usedom in the Baltic Sea, with an army of approximately 13,000 soldiers. Over the next year, he marched his army through Pomerania and Mecklenburg, securing key victories and alliances along the way. Meanwhile, Count Tilly, a seasoned veteran of the Spanish Netherlands, had been campaigning in Germany since 1620, earning a reputation as a brilliant and ruthless commander. As we explore the historical background of the Battle of Breitenfeld, it's essential to consider the geographical context in which the battle took place. The battlefield itself was located near the town of Breitenfeld, about 10 miles north of Leipzig, in the electorate of Saxony. The terrain was characterized by rolling hills, wooded areas, and open fields, providing a unique challenge for both armies as they maneuvered and clashed. In the months leading up to the battle, Gustav II Adolf had been refining his tactical approach, incorporating innovative infantry formations and artillery deployments that would allow him to exploit the weaknesses of the imperial army. He had also been busy securing alliances with other Protestant states, including Saxony and Brandenburg, which would provide crucial support in the coming battle. The Protestant Reformation, the Peace of Augsburg, and the defenestration of Prague have all contributed to the complex web of alliances and rivalries that will shape the outcome of this pivotal engagement. On September 7, 1631, the two armies clashed near the town of Breitenfeld, about 10 miles north of Leipzig, in the electorate of Saxony. The Swedish army, numbering around 28,000 soldiers, was a well-oiled machine, with Gustav II Adolf's innovative tactical approach and artillery deployments giving them a significant edge over their opponents. The imperial army, led by Count Tilly, had a numerical advantage, with around 35,000 soldiers, but they were hampered by outdated tactics and a lack of cohesion. As the battle commenced, the Swedish army formed up in a unique formation, with their infantry regiments deployed in shallow lines, allowing for greater firepower and flexibility. The imperial army, on the other hand, stuck to traditional formations, with dense columns of infantry that proved vulnerable to the Swedish artillery. Gustav II Adolf's innovative use of artillery, including the deployment of light guns and howitzers, allowed him to exploit the weaknesses of the imperial army, softening up their lines before launching a decisive assault. The battle raged on for several hours, with both sides suffering heavy casualties. However, the Swedish army's superior tactics and training eventually began to tell, as they slowly but surely pushed back the imperial army. Count Tilly's forces were unable to withstand the relentless pressure, and by the end of the day they had been routed, leaving behind thousands of dead and wounded. The Battle of Breitenfeld was a crushing victory for the Swedish army, with estimates suggesting that the imperial army lost over 20,000 men, while the Swedes suffered around 3,000 casualties. The aftermath of the battle saw Gustav II Adolf's reputation soar, as he was hailed as a brilliant and daring commander. One of the key factors that contributed to the Swedish victory was Gustav II Adolf's emphasis on training and discipline. His soldiers were well drilled and highly motivated, with a strong sense of camaraderie and esprit de corps. This allowed them to perform complex maneuvers and execute their commander's plans with precision and speed. In contrast, the imperial army was hampered by a lack of cohesion and poor morale, which ultimately proved decisive in the outcome of the battle. The Swedish army's use of innovative tactics and technology reflected the broader intellectual and cultural trends of the time, including the emphasis on reason, science, and individualism. The battle marked a significant turning point in the 30 Years' War, as it shifted the balance of power in favor of the Protestant states and paved the way for the eventual defeat of the Holy Roman Empire. The Swedish victory on September 7, 1631, sent shockwaves throughout the continent, leading to a significant shift in the balance of power and paving the way for the eventual decline of the Holy Roman Empire. In the immediate aftermath of the battle, King Gustav II Adolf's reputation as a brilliant and daring commander reached new heights. His innovative tactics and emphasis on training and discipline had paid off, and his army was hailed as one of the most effective and modern forces in Europe. The Protestant states of Germany, who had been wavering in their support for the Swedish king, were now firmly behind him, and he was able to capitalize on this momentum to secure a series of victories that would cement Sweden's position as a major power. One of the key consequences of the Battle of Breitenfeld was the weakening of the Holy Roman Empire. The empire, which had long been the dominant power in Central Europe, was now facing significant challenges from both within and without. The Swedish victory had exposed the weaknesses of the imperial army, and the emperor's inability to respond effectively to the crisis led to a decline in his authority and influence. As the war dragged on, the empire would face increasing pressure from other Protestant states, including Denmark and the Netherlands, and would eventually be forced to negotiate a series of humiliating treaties that would erode its power and influence. The Battle of Breitenfeld also had significant implications for the wider conflict. The Swedish victory had given the Protestants a much-needed boost, and they were now able to launch a series of counterattacks against the Catholic forces. The war would rage on for another 16 years, but the momentum had shifted decisively in favor of the Protestants. The Treaty of Westphalia, which was signed in 1648, would bring an end to the conflict and recognize the independence of the Protestant states, marking a significant turning point in European history. In the years following the Battle of Breitenfeld, Gustav II Adolf would continue to play a major role in shaping the course of European politics. He would launch a series of military campaigns against the Catholic forces, securing victories at Leipzig and Lutzen, and would eventually be killed in action at the Battle of Lutzen in 1632. However, his legacy would live on, and he would be remembered as one of the greatest commanders in Swedish history. The Battle of Breitenfeld also had significant cultural and philosophical implications. The Swedish victory marked a triumph for the values of reason, science, and individualism that were at the heart of the Protestant Reformation. The battle showed that modern armies, trained in the latest tactics and technologies, could achieve decisive victories on the battlefield, and it paved the way for the development of modern military theory and practice. In conclusion, the Battle of Breitenfeld was a pivotal moment in European history, marking a significant turning point in the 30 Years' War and paving the way for the eventual decline of the Holy Roman Empire. The Swedish victory had far-reaching consequences, shaping the course of European politics, culture, and philosophy for generations to come. The battle may be over, but its legacy continues to shape our understanding of the complex interplay between politics, culture, and war that has defined the modern era. That's all for today's War Bios. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, I'm General Biography reminding you to keep marching toward victory.